it's hard to beat like a filet mignon.
There you go.
And give me some like mashed potatoes.
Dang. Well, you're a Southern boy, dude. You're a Texas
Yeah,
boy.
so, actually, find me the best chicken fried steak.
There you go. Yo, what up? Welcome to the JonnyFX podcast. This week we are chatting with Ryan Kirby from Fit for a King. In my opinion, one of the best bands in the scene, have been for a while. We toured with these guys back in 2013, and I became very good friends with them. They are one of my favorite bands that I have ever toured with, and I'm glad that I could get here and catch up with Ryan after so long. On this podcast, we talk about a little bit of their change in vocal style, them starting to sing a little bit more, and the whole transition with that. We talk about food. We talk about growing older in the metalcore scene and what that means. We talk about a bunch of different stuff. So I appreciate you guys coming and stopping by and being here to watch this. And also like and subscribe down below so you can see when I post more podcasts with other great people in the music industry. And yeah, let's get into it. But first, I want to show you a little clip of the featured band this week. And this is Bone Junkie by Burn the Adversary. Enjoy. Yo, what up? We are here with Ryan Kirby from Fit for a King. How you doing?
I am doing awesome. Exhausting day, but awesome.
Why exhausting?
We leave for our little B Market headliner in a couple days, and last night, some people saw on my social, our trailer got rear-ended and destroyed.
Destroyed completely?
In front of Bob's house. So
really?
Totaled. We had to go buy a new trailer today. Like 3 phone calls with insurance. Luckily, it's under insurance, so that's why I'm not like butthurt about it.
No gear in it though, right?
No gear was in it, just shirts.
Okay, well that's good. Rip the shirts, dude. No, that sucks, dude. Random problems, especially like right before tour, that sucks. But at least it didn't happen on tour.
Like when you have a huge break, it's always right before tour.
That sucks. Who are you going out with? Is it Currents? Am I wrong on that?
Yeah, Currents and like Mazda Flames.
Sick. That's tight. Have you toured with either of those bands yet? Because Currents is on the Metalcore subreddit. They're pretty hype on there. Have you toured with them before?
We actually, this is our 3rd tour in a row. We did Europe with them. Then we did a Born of Osiris tour that they opened in May, and then we were like, let's take them on our headliner in July.
Why not?
So we obviously like hanging out.
They good dudes? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Good. Their music is sick, man. Like I find out about a lot of bands now because of my stream, like their song requests and stuff, and they're one of the most requested bands, like by far.
They're great.
Yeah, they're great. And so this tour you're doing, you said B Market. For the people that don't understand B Market, can you say what that is and explain the purpose?
All right, so essentially, I'm going to kind of break down how our booking agent breaks it down. A B Market tour. So there's A markets, B markets. It's determined. I guess you could say there's C and D, but we don't go there.
We don't go there.
Not unless we need to.
Not anymore, dude.
No, not anymore. Maybe in 2011, it was like D market straight across the board.
That's all you could get.
Exactly. We were playing Tupelo, Mississippi like 3 times a year. But sorry if you're from Tupelo, but let's be honest.
Yeah.
Markets are determined by their average draw for that specific genre and the amount of venues they have to facilitate multiple tours. So like, there's cities that are amazing for metalcore. Like, we have a great time in Springfield, Missouri and all that. It's not an A market due to there's not very many venues. So it can't really, whereas like where I'm from, the Dallas area, there's like 15 venues.
Yeah, but a lot of times those B markets can just be super sick, like because they don't get shows all the time. You know? Yeah, that's sometimes it's better because a lot of times you have to save those A markets for bigger tours, and it's like if the big tours are hitting all the A's. Yeah, but that's sick though. Have you guys? You guys are putting out new music right now, or did it already come out?
We've put out a couple singles and just announced the new record.
Yeah. So is this like a pre-record like prep like to promote, or is it coming out on the tour or what?
It's not coming out on the tour. It's coming out so we're releasing it between this tour and we have a direct support spot in the fall we haven't announced yet. So it's like announced in between those. It's kind of weird because usually you would put an album out on a tour. So we're kind of experimenting what happens if it comes out in between two tours.
Yeah, well, it could be interesting because right whenever the press starts for that next tour, you'll at least have the record readily available on Spotify for people to hear and stuff. You know?
And people, we're like, it'd be interesting because when you put it out in the middle of tour, you understand there's this awkwardness of songs that people haven't heard for like the first 2 or 3 weeks of the tour, and then you're just like, all right, I can't wait for these to come out because nobody's singing along and it's been 3 weeks. So,
you at least have the songs out for a little bit before that direct support slot, so that'd be nice. And there's people don't understand how much prep goes into, even for like like mid-tier metalcore bands. There's still like a lot of prep that goes into releasing and planning out these things so that the release is like done well. And honestly, I don't think it is. It's also almost just as important as the whole writing process a lot of times. And I really don't think it's kind of interesting to put it out a little bit before a tour. Because usually the reason you do it on a tour is so that you can sell them on the tour and up those numbers a little bit. But doing it in between, I think, is pretty interesting because the marketing from the tour
is the thing now.
Yeah. Well, I'm assuming if you guys are direct support for a band, it's probably a decent sized band that you're playing under. So their people are going to be checking out your Spotify, and then so you raise those streaming numbers. I think it's perfect.
And you want for the first 2 weeks, you don't want people to like hear your old stuff when they find out about you at these shows. They're going to hear a couple singles and then go straight to your old stuff. And I'd rather go to the new record and really jam the new stuff. So
and the new stuff, I've listened to it because people request every stream. People request at least one of your new songs. So one of the big ones. Okay, so I have questions from Reddit, and this just is a perfect tie-in to one of them. And basically, every single person on Reddit wants to know about the transition of you mainly doing the cleans rather than, is his name Tuck?
Yes.
So that was pretty much, I only put one of them in the 5 questions I was going to ask because everyone was asking it. But so with the transition of you doing more of the cleans rather than having the bassist do it, like what was the steps you took towards getting your cleans to the point of being comfortable to make them the primary sound?
As generic as it sounds, it's just a huge confidence thing. And you understand as a vocalist, like when you don't have confidence, it's so hard to even like go on stage and do anything. So for a long time, I had full confidence in screaming and literally like zero confidence in singing. So and I never really tried it much. I grew up, my favorite bands were As I Lay Dying and Black Dahlia Murder, Whitechapel. So singing wasn't ever something that I was really like, oh man, I want to sing.
Yeah.
It was always like, I want to be a screamer. I want to be Phil Bozeman. I want to be brutal. And so it was, as my musical preferences changed, because I listened to a lot more singing as you get older. And I was like, man, I really want to be a singer kind of too, and not just be the brutal guy in the band. And it was a slow transition. Like if you listen to Slave to Nothing, I did 3 singing parts on the whole record. Then Death Grip did like 50-50. And then this record was Drew, our producer, really was just like the best vocal coach ever.
Yeah.
And brought out a lot of like the vibrato and being able to control my notes a lot better. And just overall becoming an actual singer and not a guy that yelled notes and hoped that I didn't miss them.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's interesting because people are like, well, you can scream, you could probably sing, and it's so much different of a situation. Like, it's totally different. The new Browning album, there's actually 4 songs on it that have no screaming.
Really?
We're doing the same kind of transition. I feel like almost everyone getting a little older is wanting to, add a little more depth to their music. It's like you can get so much more emotion out of the song doing like pitched yells or singing.
And you gotta make the parents happy.
Oh, dude, I showed my dad one of the ones we were thinking for the single. He actually cried. He was like, "This is what I've been telling you to do." He was like, "You need to be on the..." Yeah, dude. He's like, "I told you." And so it's like, I don't know. It really does, like, because you can still have the same heaviness, but be so much more accessible to the rest of the world.
Exactly, and people call it selling out, and it's really not. You're doing what you enjoy.
Yeah, that's the definition of sell out is doing something you don't enjoy to get paid. But if you thoroughly enjoy it, like you said, you don't listen to much. Like, you listen to mainly singing stuff, and it's same with everyone in my band. It's
you play streaming stuff for a living.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, it's just an inevitable thing for most bands to eventually go to it. But you guys still have like really heavy freaking crap in this stuff.
And we know our roots. We know why our fans love our band, and I still love like performing heavy music live is such a rush, and it's awesome watching the crowd do things I wouldn't do. I basically tell them to do everything I refused to do as a kid because I was scared to get hurt. Now I'm the one telling them to like punch each other in the foot. So, but it's fun. I think there's so much more energy in metal live shows than a lot of genres.
Yes.
And so I never want to lose that aspect of our band, and I never want to like make our fans upset that like our band for the heavy aspect, which is a huge amount. So it's almost like finding a good balance between what our fans really want and what I really love, and then trying to find a medium where both of us remain happy, but at the same time progressing. And
yes.
It's, how it is. It's like a tightrope act with writing.
Yeah. And it takes a lot more to write with melody in mind for vocals, and it takes a lot more to have in mind for that. And so like, was there anyone specifically you looked at to progress towards that like kind of pitched yell or the more harsh singing that you're doing? Is there any singer that you were like, man, that like he kills it, I want to try to be similar to that?
I've always, it's a hot topic now, but I've always loved Tim Thesis as a vocalist. I think and he's always had cool pitch yell stuff in between him and Sam Carter from Architects, which I know the Metalcore Reddit loves Sam Carter.
Yes.
I do as well, and his pitch yelling is insane. I cannot.
Top notch.
He's like the father of pitch yells in my opinion.
Well, I mean, even Ollie Sykes, whenever he started doing it a lot more, he even said in interviews, he was like, I just want to sound like Sam from Architects.
Yeah, he mastered it.
He's just like, he's so distorted, but still like able to have that like perfect pitch to it. He's insane, dude. And he pulls it off live too.
He does. And
have you done much of it live?
First time. I haven't done a practice. Honestly, these new songs are the first time I've really started like incorporating it into songs. I would do it occasionally at shows, like ad lib, because I thought it was fun and I was kind of practicing at the same time. And now this record was the first time I felt comfortable like actually putting it on a record. That's what a lot of people are like, the singing came out of nowhere and pitch yelling, whatever. And as vocalists, you constantly work on things by yourself because it's kind of embarrassing when you're like, you sound really bad for a long time doing some things. Yeah. And it's kind of like you're in the workshop and then you're like, all right, it's ready. And then you bring it out for everyone to hear. Well, I'm sure on this record, singing wasn't the first time you'd ever sang, but it was the first time you're like, I feel good putting this on a record.
Yeah. It's the exact same situation for me. Like, I didn't want the singing to be a primary thing till I felt I was actually good enough for it to be, a prominent sound. And so actual years of trying to find the right voice. Like, it really was. Do you think, so for live, are you confident enough to do it yourself, or do you think some of the songs you'll have Tuck do it live? Do you think You think you'll have the bassist do some of it live that you did on the record, or
a band I think that handles it really well is Beartooth.
Yeah,
Ashi is like the perfect example of like a backup singer live for certain songs, and Caleb pre-Ashi live versus Caleb post-Ashi is like night and day. Caleb is like amazing now, and it's because of the strategic breaks.
Yes,
where Ashi will sing a line, and
all he needs one line
to catch her breath. Yeah, one line can make a difference on you hitting the next part with full strength. And there's like this. We practiced today. It was the first time doing the songs with the band, and it was definitely like the biggest challenge with singing live. And what I'm going to have to really learn to do to feel confident is like breathing. It's so different than screaming. Like it just involves way more air, and you have to be a lot more strategic of where the air is. Yeah. So that's something I'm really having to learn, because when I started singing, I was trying to just do what I do for screaming with breathing, and it wasn't near enough breaths. So it's rough.
I use the different, doing just a slightly different type of vocal really does change the airflow like so much. Like our last album had a few whisper parts, and live I could barely do the whisper parts because
you have to change the technique.
Yeah, and whisper takes so much more air than you think, and so
it uses more than screaming. Screaming honestly doesn't use that much air.
Yeah,
that is the way I do it, and I can't see you taking a ton of breaths live and keeping the scream going. So I think that's the way to go with screaming.
Yeah, and so I think we're gonna be trying to do the exact same thing you're just talking about, like me and the bassist, like kind of like work out who can do what line so that every line can be like full strength. You know? I think it's really important to be able to do that.
Do what sounds best in the studio and then figure out how to do it live.
Yep.
Because majority of people will never see your band live. I mean, that's the reality of the situation. He's like, maybe 20% of your fans will go to a show at some point.
Yeah.
And he's like, so do what you can, the best possible thing you can do in the studio, and just use the tools your band has live to make it work.
Yeah, well, and plus people are going to listen to the album 100 times. They're barely even going to listen to you live because they're going to be being busy, distracted with whatever the crap's going on. So
that's why I grew up being so critical of singers, but now I'm like, you know what? He may have trouble hitting that note live, but I really love listening to that song over and over again, and it wouldn't be the same if he didn't do it. So.
Yeah. What was I about to say? Who have you toured with? Have you toured with any vocalists that you were like, God dang, like that dude just made me feel like, like worthless?
As a frontman, Danny from Upon a Burning Body.
He's very controlling.
That guy made me feel like this small because of how like intimidating he was. I felt like I need to get in the pit, or this guy is going to hit me. As a vocalist, Jake Lors is just so consistent.
Who's that?
August Burns Red.
Okay, yeah.
He's such a he has such a great yell live, and his stage presence is crazy. As far as like vocal technicality, I think Maddie Mullins, like and Aaron Pauley from Of Mice and Men, as far as their ability to sing and scream like flawlessly.
Maddie's crazy, dude.
He is. He'll go from like a full minute and a half of screaming and then immediately switch to a singing part without a break.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's so hard. People don't realize how hard it is to do, to like switch between and he's not singing like easy things.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And one thing
example. Oh,
go ahead.
Oh, they're a great example of a band that have the backup singer. Like Kellen does a lot of the backup parts and makes Maddie's life so much easier. And it doesn't take anything away from Maddie. It just gives him a chance to breathe with all this singing and screaming.
Yeah, and something I've been thinking about a lot recently too is like I move a lot whenever we're performing, and I look at some vocalists, I'm like, man, he's not moving that much, but I'm also like, man, he sounds good though. And so I'm kind of considering maybe I need to, I'm getting old, a little fatter, I need to chill a little bit so I can hit these. I really want to as it used to just be I wanted to be as crazy as I could on stage, but now I'm starting to get to where I just want to sound as good as I can on stage.
I wonder what fans' opinion are.
Yeah, what they would
I've always
prefer,
been at the same, like, I would rather move less and sound like the record.
Yeah.
But I've always wondered, like, do fans want more energy or more clarity? Because you're honestly not going to get both, because if you're just losing your mind, you're going to not be able to hold out notes as long as you normally would. So I've always wondered that. That's a good Twitter poll right there.
It is. Or leave it down in the comments. No. So next one, this is also from Reddit. I also think a good topic is there any overarching theme on this next record coming up?
I wouldn't say it's a concept album. There's definitely like a good amount of songs on it that deal with things like depression, anxiety. One theme, it's a lot of like thinking about death, the idea of death, and how it can seem like terrifying some nights, and then some days you're just like, yeah, I don't care. As we see from all the Twitter jokes of people saying, oh, I'm just gonna walk into the street.
Yeah. And so it's interesting. I don't know, that I feel like a lot less people are doing like full concepts albums, but usually there is like 4 or 5 songs on the record that have kind of the same direction in the sense of that. And
it's definitely, I'd say, mental inner battles, mental issues, like when you're worried. That's the most common, I guess the best way to say it is it's the most common theme on the record, and then certain songs divert from that theme.
Okay, yeah. Is like, I'm not sure. Are you still religious?
Yes.
I would assume so. Okay, yeah. And so is there still a theme in that? Does that kind of like go in together with like your theme of like worrying? Do you fall back on like your faith as something that helps you with that in your songs, or do you stay away from faith in your music?
Honestly, probably 8 of 10 songs will be non-faith based, just because I'm all about, like, a lot of people say, well, I'm depressed, God will help me, and I'm like, you kind of have to try. So I think using God as a crutch isn't the proper way to go about things. Like, he's great. Like, there's a difference between confiding in a person and relying on a person. For sure. And I think relying on somebody or something or God to like make the change for you is counterproductive. So a lot of these songs I try to deal with like how I handled it myself, and I may have like, God may have helped me along the way, but I don't talk about it much. And you say I'm still religious. One interesting thing a lot of people think is that faith can be static. And for me, it's been very like constantly changing my interpretation of things. The more I travel the world, see other people, and I'm exposed to like how different people live, like how there's a lot of Christians that are very hateful towards gay people. Yeah. And, you know, whenever I was a kid, I went to church, people would say things that I would be like completely against now. But when you're a kid and that's all you're exposed to, I had never met a gay person. Yeah. It's like, so as you like go through the world, you meet people of different lifestyles. Like, oh, they're just normal people. They're not weird or anything. It's just, that's just who they are. Yeah. You start gaining a perspective, and I think you read the Bible in a different way. Yeah. Definitely. And a lot of people don't have that perspective, I don't think, because they don't travel much, and they close themselves into like this little Christian bubble where if you're like, oh, if you're outside of my rules, then you're wrong. Yeah, well, I feel like you have to be, whenever it comes to really any sort of belief system, whether it's straight edge or vegan or, you know, religious or whatever the crap it is, I feel like you need to have an open mind on other perspectives of life. Like, it's very much so needs to be something that can, you know, like with me, like whenever we toured together,
I would not have considered myself any sort of like spiritual. And now it's like I wouldn't call myself Christian. I wouldn't call myself Buddhist. I wouldn't call myself nothing. But I will tell you, like, I am a lot more spiritual now than I ever have been in my life. Just thinking about stuff and seeing how things interact and meeting people and just like all this stuff. And just really thinking in depth about life, and afterlife is a big one. And I don't know, it's hard to not get spiritual whenever you really start thinking about the stuff, you know?
It's so weird to me that this is semi-controversial. It's so weird that anybody could definitively believe that there is nothing.
Yeah.
That to me is like more of a leap of faith than saying there's something.
Yeah, definitely.
Because for us to exist, something happened.
Something, somewhere, sometime.
Like, I'm not saying it's Christianity. I'm not saying it's Islam. I'm not saying it's any of that. I'm just saying to believe that there's just nothing. This just happened. I'm like, that takes some faith.
Oh, yeah. Well, to me, it's... To me, even the thought of, like, a creator. Like, to me, I've thought about this a lot. Like, God could be a civilization that's been around for 1 million years, sitting up in the sky, that did put us here on this planet and terraform this world to grow their species. Like, God doesn't necessarily have to be a spiritual being. It could just be anything that did create this planet for us or something. You never freaking know, dude. So I agree with you there.
Somebody stated, and I think it was the best way to state it, he's like, for the universe to be created, there has to be two things. Something with the power to create, which something had to exist to create everything, and then something with the will to create. Because things don't just happen, especially when nothing exists.
Definitely.
So they said it's kind of like believing if there's a car with no driver, how's it going to drive? Which, now we're getting to self-driving cars, but we'll just keep using that analogy until it runs out. I don't know. I just think even if it's aliens, I'm not even going to shoot down that. If somebody wants to believe that, hey, God's an alien.
Yeah.
Which my wife will joke about that sometimes. She says it's not a joke.
It's not a joke. I back it.
He could be. Who's to say? God's just what man calls whatever created us.
Yeah.
God isn't like a thing. It's a presence. That's why they said when Jesus was man incarnated. So obviously God's not a man, or else why would God just come down? So God's just something. It could be an alien. It could just be a spirit. So I think when people say like, "Oh, it doesn't exist," they're just thinking of Christianity, or they're just thinking of Islam. I'm like, yeah, but God is whatever you want it to be, I guess. For me, it's the God of the Bible. For someone else, it could be an alien. So it's like, I don't know. I also think not associating with people or shooting them down because they believe something else. It's like we're all using faith. So it's not like any of us have hard physical evidence or else it wouldn't be faith anymore.
Exactly.
And some people found their faith in something else. And I might say, yeah, I disagree with it. I believe in this, but you can do you, because obviously something in your head makes you believe this, just like something in my head makes me believe this.
Yeah. Yeah. So I completely agree with you on all that. And like, I'm just becoming more like, it's funny because people who, like you said, say there's nothing. And I know there's nothing. They're more closed-minded than the people who have faith in something, in my opinion.
Exactly.
But they think they're the ones that are woke or whatever the crap, you know?
I think it's just a hard backlash to like bigoted religious people.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Which my belief on bigoted religious people are they use the Bible to kind of like shield them from criticism when they don't. Like, if a person believes a woman shouldn't wear clothes that show her ankles, they're essentially just like, all right, I need to find a verse that can back this up so people don't trace it back to me. They're like, see, this verse kind of means that, so there, God said it, not me. That's God. You're not gonna argue with God, are you?
Well, it kind of goes to the whole gay thing. Is like they're just using some like verse in the Bible to push an agenda. Like it's not necessarily how it was intended Potentially, I don't know. Maybe it was intended that way. I've never read the freaking Bible, but I don't know. I feel like it's just like the Westboro Baptist Church. That stuff is ridiculous, and they're just using this crazy interpretation.
The Bible's their shield.
Yeah, exactly. And religion is a shield in a lot of ways. Like you look at a lot of stuff with Scientology, and they get away with some freaking crap, just because through the basis of religion. Yeah, that's insane to me. That stuff is crazy.
I could get into this forever, but I know there's more questions. My personal belief, and I just want any Christian watching this to like consider it, because I heard this from my dad and I can't even think of an explanation, is so the Bible says multiple times God unconditionally loves everyone.
Yeah.
Therefore, he believes everyone goes to heaven.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't found anything to refute that, really. And I think he believes hell. And I kind of believe it, too, that hell is amplified and used as a scare tactic in a lot of churches and in religion.
Yeah.
So that's just an interesting thing. I'm not saying that
God loves everyone.
Yeah. And if it's unconditional, it means there's nothing. The definition of unconditional means there's no condition.
Yes.
So that's why I'm not saying that that's 100%. That's my interpretation. Another Christian might have a different interpretation, but it's something I think people should think about. For sure. Instead of thinking heaven's an exclusive club for people that do the right thing. Yeah,
well, that's nice. I'm pretty sure the Mormons save everyone. So they go through the obituary, and if the person's hell, they can come in. So at least you go to Mormon heaven, right?
Mormon heaven.
All right, so let's go ahead and switch topics a little bit. This is another one from Reddit. This one was from my boy Cryocore. Shout out. But he says, and this is a total flop of topic, but I like it. So, if you could have any meal all paid for, what would it be? Any meal all paid for.
It's hard to beat like a filet mignon.
There you go.
And give me some like mashed potatoes.
Dang. Well, you're a Southern boy, dude. You're a Texas boy.
So, actually, find me the best chicken fried steak.
There you go. Nice. And so you've traveled the world. You've seen all these places. You've ate all these places. And you just want a freaking chicken fried steak.
Exactly.
Nice. Like, what about, you were just talking about this. What about a Denny's chicken fried steak?
I mean, if they're paying, I'll eat it.
Hey, there you go. Whenever we did the tour, Denny's had this app where it's like you had to visit a Denny's in each state. We were at Denny's every night, man. We were trying our best.
Anybody even acknowledged that the app existed, but we always argued our way into the free things that it offered. They were like, never heard of the app. And we're like, well, it says I get a free milkshake.
Yep. Worked out, though.
Here's a question for you, because that reminded me, and I like to ask this to people. So if any food, like remove all nutrition stuff. Let's say every food is healthy. Food is food. It's fuel. What food would you eat like insane amounts of if it had no health ramifications?
It's not necessarily a food, but it is something you ingest, and that would be Pepsi.
Pepsi.
Yes. Infinite amounts of Pepsi.
He gave me a stare. He's on Team Coca-Cola.
Oh, no.
Team Dr. Pepper, to be more specific.
Hey, that's still good. Just pop in general, dude. I would, if
drink
I could
like
just
water.
Dude, I would 100%, because you just get that nice burn in the back of your throat, like that. I don't drink alcohol or anything, so that's the closest I get to satisfaction,
No,
and so
same. Pepsi, I love Pepsi. Root beer is my favorite drink.
Oh, root beer's good.
I'm gonna drink soda. Virgil's root beer. If you never had it, have it. I saw somebody call root beer barbecue water the other day. And
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. No, yeah, it would 100% be pop, dude. Any and all forms of pop. If it had no nutritional disadvantages, I would slam it nonstop. What about you? What would it be?
Comments on that. I want to see. Yeah. Before I get to mine, leave in the comments.
There you go.
For me, I could eat so many French fries.
Ooh, yeah, dude.
Just picture if you sat there with a bucket of French fries and it just was healthy.
Yeah, it was like eating celery or something.
That would be dangerous.
Yeah. Well, did you go hard on? How do you feel about like the European French fry stands where you get like a freaking like a cone of French fries and they do the fry sauce? Have you gone hard like that?
This.
You haven't?
And I've been to Europe twice.
Dang. Well, have you tried the fry sauce?
No.
You haven't? They put like mayonnaise
and bad salsa.
What? Where?
The bad Euro salsa. It's like ketchup with peppers in it.
Ooh. No, yeah, I ain't touching that crap, dude.
Yeah.
I ain't about that.
No, yeah, your salsa meter or your salsa. I guess we're pretty uppity about our salsa.
Yeah. Dang, man, I could talk about food forever.
What's your favorite restaurant in the country? Now I'm interviewing you.
Oh God,
you poured all over.
Favorite restaurant in the country that I've had. I'm actually vegan now. I don't know if you know that. I'm vegan now.
I didn't.
Yeah,
our sound guy that's right here is vegan.
Nice. I had three out of the 4 people in the Browning are vegan now. It's a strange turn of events.
Who's the last one in your band that hasn't converted?
Cody, our drummer.
I was gonna say who's the coward, but I'm also a coward.
Yeah, the Browning's basically straight edge vegan now. But I would say the Melt in Cleveland. That was next level, dude. Yeah, next level.
Did they have a buffalo chicken soup?
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah, dude. It's way too good. Okay, so let's talk about music again. What people are here for.
I mean, pizza by Attila, though, right?
Oh, true. What do you think? What do you think about that? About that song?
Hey, it's food and breakdown, so
that's what everyone loves.
Yeah, I mean, did they do anything wrong? I mean, their fans are gonna love it.
Heck yeah, and
I agree with them on the pineapple stance.
I do too. That's suspect as crap. I ain't touching no pineapple on nothing, dude. But Attila is a very interesting band because I think they're to that point. They almost have that Trumpism about them that they could do nothing wrong that would turn anyone off at this point. You know?
That's true. I mean, once you go so far, you kind of just have the thumbs up.
Yeah,
on everything.
And it's like they're and people love them and people hate them, and it's I don't know if there's anyone that's middle ground with Attila. You know?
It's a matter of like, do enough people love us to where it doesn't even matter how many people hate us, and I think they're at that point.
Yes, yeah. Do you guys think you would ever do any sort of gimmicky meme song?
Probably not. I'm not cool enough, or
true.
I care too much. I think you just have to have like, not saying he doesn't care about the band, but I care too much about like the meaning of our music.
Yes.
And I think like it would almost cheapen the other songs, but for them, that's like their thing.
It's their thing. Yeah, well, not thinking about Attila to any extent, I'm totally with you right there. Like, you know, I've spent so much time working on lyrics for my songs because I'm so freaking particular. Like, I feel like some people can just like, they just throw these lines together that me reading it, I'm like, what is this supposed to mean? And I'm just like, I spend so much time to make sure that it's like articulated in a way everyone can understand and that it's something meaningful to some extent. And like you do basically the same thing.
I definitely do. And it takes effort to write the pizza song. I mean, I honestly couldn't have wrote those lyrics because my mind doesn't go there with writing, but it's not like when people trash rap. It's not easy to write. Some of it's kind of, but like if you listen to like Jay-Z and stuff, it's like a lot of it's real clever.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
so
and
the song is clever. I couldn't have wrote that song.
Uh-huh.
But I like you. I get particular with everything I write. I want it because I want it to be like deep, but at the same time accessible to everybody.
Do you have any sort of structure? Actually, the last podcast or one of the last podcasts I had, I got in the talk of, and it was with Jake Hill, who is a rapper. And we kind of talked about how we structured our lyrics like along the process. Do you start in the beginning and go through the whole song, or do you like start like chorus and then go like piece it together?
I've always started at the beginning all the way through. I need to experiment a little with writing choruses first.
Yeah.
I've done it with I've done it with screaming choruses, but not singing choruses.
Really?
So I wrote the screaming choruses first, but yeah, I need to, like our song Pissed Off, which is one of our more popular songs. The chorus was written first, and it honestly made the rest of the song so easy to write, having the chorus first, because it just gives you the subject matter, and then everything's written around that. So I should probably, I always love trying new ways to write because I think it gets different outcomes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's actually exactly how the conversation went with me and Jake. Is I always start on the chorus. It's like, what is this song about? And then I write the most important part of it, and then I start the first verse going like, okay, this is the initial thought of what's going on, and then we get to the chorus. This is the main topic, and then the second is like an answer to the chorus of the main topic. Yeah, I write every single song like that.
I might have to try that. I haven't done that.
Yeah, it's just the chorus is so important, and this album, I'm assuming almost every song has a chorus on this upcoming album.
Yeah, every song does.
Yeah, and so did you feel extra pressure whenever it comes to those songs, or do you feel extra pressure over the course of the album to where it's did you feel pressure in the sense of you didn't want to seem samey in the sense of the song structure, or did you have did you struggle with that at all?
We definitely consciously don't want the songs to feel the same, and it's kind of complicated. It's difficult because people always say, "Oh, it's so structured" and all that. I'm like, but it works. Music is always, like, popular music's always been the A-B, like, first chorus, bridge kind of stuff. And so it's just like experimenting with different things. Like, that's why we like to do four screaming choruses, 5 singing choruses, and then like an interlude song with like a free flowing vocal thing going. And so with the singing choruses, to try to change it up, we make sure it's like a different BPM, different drum beat. Like, one song does a key change at the end, one song is a 3/4 just in the chorus, and then 4/4 the rest of the song. So that's I think like trying to like make everything feel different just by doing little things like changing the time signature, changing the tempo.
Oh, for sure. And does Bob do any vocals on the record?
He does not on this record.
Dang, I love his vocals, dude. It's so thick. He was he's crazy.
Down touring with us a lot, so he was like, I should probably not have like a super prominent vocal role on the record because somebody else will be screaming it every night whenever I'm not touring. So I was like, that sounds sick.
Wait, is he not touring with you guys full time? Do you have a fill-in or something?
Yeah, this tour we have a fill-in, and then there's another one. He has 2 kids, so he's trying to like limit. Yeah, he's popping them out.
Nice.
He's the youngest one in the band and has 2 kids.
The best looking too.
Exactly. Must be modeling.
He is too good looking, man.
He's opening a plant shop this week.
Really?
Yeah, him and his wife.
Nice. That's sick.
So if this podcast is brought to you by Grow. He didn't give me permission to sponsor the podcast.
Oh, and now it is. He owes me money.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
That's sick.
Yeah.
I mean, is it so you guys have been together for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And
I've played music with Bob since 2009.
Yeah, so that's basically the point I'm getting at is you're like, 45 now, so you guys have been writing music together for, a long time. Is it weird to see each other growing up into these becoming real adults to an extent, but still have this thing? Like,
it's super weird. I mean, 3 of us own a house now, and Bob and I are married, and Tuck's engaged, and it's just like, kids are not on my radar. Neither are Tuck. I'm Tuck, so not to that chapter yet, but it's just weird because it's like all my friends have their 9 to 5s, they have kids, they're married, and I'm over here, and I'm like, yeah, I'm leaving for tour. And it's just, the older I get, the weirder it gets.
Right, dude? That's how old are you now?
I'm 27.
I am too. And I'm getting to that point where it starts getting a little awkward talking to people that don't exactly know the situation, because you're like, they're like, oh, what do you do? And I'm like, I'm in a band. And they're like, you know, they think I'm in like a bar band that plays covers. And
it's like, yeah, but how do you make money?
Yeah. Yeah, and it's getting a little weird, but it is honestly something that starts becoming a major thought process. Getting to this age, pushing 30, you start really questioning what's going on, and it's a major topic on the podcast. So why not talk about it here? But it's do you see metalcore as something that is a sustainable thing into the future of 5 people or 4 people needing to raise families and buy houses off of?
Right now, things are great. I mean, honestly, buying the house and I remember having a house really like shut up a lot of doubters in my life that like my parents have always been supportive, but it definitely made it like real to them.
Yeah, for
like,
sure.
Oh, you bought a house, or like you're ready to buy a house? You have money ready to do that? And like, yeah. And it's just. So, like, and now finally talking, because, you know, when I did the family get-togethers back in 2013, whenever we all had side jobs, and we were lucky if I made like $1,000 off the band in a year.
Yeah.
I was like, my parents or friends at the parties, like get-togethers, would be like, oh, what do you do? It's like, I'm in a band. And they're like, oh, cool. So you live in the back room at your parents', right? And I'm like, yeah, and I'm 23.
Yeah.
It's really awesome.
Yeah, definitely.
So being independent has made it easier. But to your point, as we get older, it gets to the point where you're like, man, if it stops providing, I just have to bail. I have to cut ties. And it's not that I hate music or I do it for the money. It's just, you get to a point in your life where you're like, I have to have money. I'm married.
You have to.
I can't just go tour with my friends and leave my wife and then come home and be like, oh, I lost $500, but thanks for hanging out at home.
Yeah, thanks for being here alone for a month and a half. But what would you see yourself doing if it got to that point? Like, is there a career you have in mind of something you think you'd really enjoy?
Our band has an exit plan, which we haven't dove into because things are continuing to grow. So luckily we haven't had to discuss it. Yeah. But there's like a silent agreement that we're all like, hey, we're not going to drag this thing out. If we plateau at a spot that's not good, or we start shrinking, let's do a 2-year or let's do an album cycle breakup.
Yep.
Where it's like, put out a new record, do some tours, do a farewell tour, like do it right. Because you know how a lot of bands fade out. And then, like, I just watch bands that used to be so big and play big venues, and then they just keep it going all the way till they're irrelevant, and then they break up, and people don't care anymore. And I'm like, I want people to care when we break up.
Well, yeah, like Under Oath, whenever they broke up, they're on top of the world, and not necessarily on top of the world, but they
were relevant still.
Yeah, they didn't make everyone sick of them. You know, it's a good point, and it's something I also promised myself. Like, whenever we first started touring, some of our tours were, it's like, I don't want to be 35 and still have this long hair and be on stage jumping around to techno metal. Like, that's not what I want to do whenever I'm 35 years old, you know? And so I'm right there with you. You have to leave at a time. It's inevitable that, you know, can't be in a metalcore band forever, unless if you're Asley Dying or something super pops off.
You continue growing, or you plateau at like ABR, and you're just like, you know what? It's a great paying job. It's still really fun, but it's like, as soon as you see like the fan base is slipping, the money's shrinking. Yeah. Don't wait till it's gone. Just say, you know what? The trend has started. Let's get ready. Let's get ready for the next chapter. Take this next year to prepping, touring, and saying farewell properly. Exactly. You want to do it for your fans as much as you like. If you've been on such a long ride, I mean, I'd imagine you're the same. If 5 or 6 years from now our bands are breaking up, you want to say goodbye to your fans. You want to be like, thank you. And you owe it to them to have like a great thing by.
Yeah, but
like For Today did it perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, For Today, they were a great band. But for you guys right now, you guys are just growing exponentially, and it's what do you think that's due to right now? Why do you think that's happening for you guys?
I think the biggest thing right now is this new album. Working with Drew was probably the most like life-changing for the band thing ever. Like
Who's
it
Drew?
brought our song. Drew Folk. He's worked on the latest Plotney record. He works with Motionless in White. Some other band, and it was the first time we're on a new contract with our label, and we got a lot bigger budgets for things.
Yep.
And so this album had like double the budget of all our past records, and it was like every penny was worth it. Like he essentially was in our band for a month. His songwriting ability, and it's not even that he was writing the riffs or writing the vocals, but he was basically steering us to the right directions and to things we never even like considered.
For sure. Well, a big misconception people have of producer is that yes, well, a lot of people think a producer is the dude that you come and sit in the room and they have a laptop and they record you. A real producer is someone that helps you write your songs to the best of your ability. Like that's what a real producer does. And so go ahead, keep going on.
He's like a vocal coach. He's a songwriter. He's a lyricist. Like, because I'll write all my lyrics, and he's the guy that's the thing I always tell people: you have to be good with constructive criticism, because once you go to a real producer, they're gonna hand it to you.
Oh yeah, dude.
Because he's like, these lyrics are whack. Like, you got to use a cooler word than that. You got to do this, and all our previous records, like, no offense, not many of them got involved like that.
Yeah.
And I think just the brutal honesty of an outside opinion and a guy that knows how to structure a song can just be like game changing for a band. Because the bands that don't make it are usually the ones that are so closed-minded to outside opinions. Because like, it's my band, it's my music. Yeah. Like, but this person's hearing it from the outside.
Yeah. Yeah, that person is there to basically help you sell records. That's their job. And, you know, most producers take points, basically a royalty of albums. So if they make your
sell as bad as you.
Yeah, exactly. Like we were talking to Sturgis, and Sturgis was like, I can't produce an album that isn't going to sell any less than 70K albums. I'm like, okay. You know, those people have livelihoods, and they make it off of making your music sellable.
And people say, oh, that's selling out because you're writing music to sell records. And I'm like, you know what? If you're selling records, it means people like it.
Yeah, and it also means that the band can stay. Yeah, and the band can stay longer. If you really love the band, you should want them to write the music that's going to give them the most longevity. You know?
Exactly.
Yeah,
and that's you hit the nail on the head. And people say, I know now it's record sales. And people always make a huge point of like, buy records. It's like that and go to shows. Because at the end of the day, longevity comes from being able to tour. Like if we sell 60,000 records, I won't make near the amount of money as if we sold 20,000, but our draw was triple.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. Well, it's like for the Browning, that's honestly been the saving grace for our band is we've always had like an extremely consistent and growing draw. Every time we tour, the last US headliner we did, it was by far, we were getting paid on average like $500 more a night than our previous headliner like 6 months before that. And so it's like the people going to shows is so important for a band's career, just because yeah, exactly. And so, like, now our last European headliner was the best we'd ever done, and we're about to do one in another European headliner at the end of the year, and we're about to have our biggest support package we've ever had by far. So it's like,
that's awesome.
For us, the live performance has 100% been the saving grace, because our streaming numbers weren't insane. Like, we do decent, but not enough like to sustain off of. So, like you said, it's more like selling albums is sick and does really help, but it would be so much more helpful to have way more people come to the shows.
I'd rather sell out venues than sell records.
Yes, 100%.
Look at hardcore bands. Like some of them at like Knocked Loose right now. They have like a fourth of our monthly listeners, but they draw 4 times more than most bands that like they have not. I think they just hit 100,000 monthly listeners. That band drew 1,500 people in Worcester.
Yeah, that's insane.
But there's other bands with 100,000 listeners in the metalcore world that struggle to draw 30 a night.
Yes, exactly. Literally 30. And
they're way better off for it. They may not sell the same records as that band that sells 100,000. Like we would be support to Knocked Loose, but we've sold probably twice the amount of records. But I would gladly support Knocked Loose because that band is huge.
Yeah, and it's a different realm because this is another little topic, but metalcore fans are a bit strange in their willingness to support certain aspects of a band. Like hardcore is all in, dude. Like the hardcore scene is so much more dedicated than the metalcore scene. The metalcore scene almost seems like a
pickle.
It's weird, man. It's super weird.
When the next big band comes out.
And so 100% Knocked Loose is a perfect example of that. And yeah, man, I totally agree there. Let me see. I don't think I have any more questions from the Reddit. I think I kind of asked them the whole time. But yeah, so with the big thing that everyone wanted to hear about was the cleans. And do you see it as something going forward with the band as being an even more prominent sound?
I wouldn't say we're gonna sing more, but I'll definitely continue. I think I'm gonna continue singing a good amount. We're definitely, if people can tell from the new stuff, we're going in a more metal direction.
Yes. We
see a lot more longevity in the As I Lay Dying, Kill Switch, Parkway Drive world of metalcore. Mm-hmm. So we want to slowly transition into like thrashy with some singing. And I genuinely love As I Lay Dying. They were like my favorite band growing up. And their cleans are so awesome.
Yeah. So, how do you feel about their comeback right now?
The way I see it, there's a lot of misinformation going everywhere. Like I've heard people say Tim murdered his wife. And so you know how things go down the grapevine.
Yes.
Take on what he did was awful. Yes. He went to prison. He got out for good behavior. And he's doing a lot of things right now for, I heard he's raising $10 to $15 million for victims of domestic abuse.
Yeah.
And, you know, the way I see it, I don't know him. Honestly, none of us probably know him, and nobody watching this podcast probably knows him.
Yeah.
And his band, who was probably screwed over more than anybody other than his wife, like they lost their jobs and a good paying job and with zero warning.
Yep.
And they were about to go on tour. So for people that don't understand, most of your money comes from tour. Yeah. And they probably already had planned their finances around the income coming in.
Probably for like 6 months.
Yeah, because one tour funds it's 6 months of work, essentially. A band like that, it could be what some people make in a year from one tour. And so if those guys can trust and forgive him, and they know him maybe better than his wife, because apparently they weren't doing too hot and they were with him in a vehicle all the time.
Yeah.
Like if they can learn to trust him and get over it, and apparently it wasn't an easy thing for them to, there was a lot of thought.
Yes.
Then you know what? I don't know him. I'm just gonna get over it and enjoy the music.
Exactly. Well, and that's exactly the thoughts I have on it. Is those people were so extremely affected by it, and those people are like Nick is friends with his ex-wife, and so if they were capable of forgiving him and moving on, then the fans who it affected zero need to get the crap over it and just love the music. Like, sure, if you don't support Tim because he made a mistake, F it. Support all the other dudes in the band that are clearly great.
They need to make a living.
Yeah, and they're great people, and I trust those dudes so much that I trust their opinions on Tim as well. So that's exactly how I feel about it.
And our producer did their song, the My Own Grave song. He produced it and helped with the writing, and he told me Tim is changed, an awesome guy, and he didn't know him before any of this happened.
Yeah.
He just said, I met Tim after because he reached out and wanted to do the track, and he said Tim is just feels so bad about everything.
I'm sure.
And, I was like, I don't know him at all, but I trust our producer. And like you said, you trust the members of the band.
Mm-hmm.
And if they can put it behind them, it's not that anybody has to accept what he did. It's bad. And it'll never be a good thing that he did. But the way I see it, if they forgive him, I'm just going to enjoy the music. And apparently he's doing good. I hope he does well, because he could be a great example for people that are struggling with being a jerk to their wives.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, man. Well, I think we covered a lot of good stuff here, and it's good talking to you. We haven't talked in a long time. The last we talked, you helped me with a line for one of my songs. I was like, dude, I'm stuck. Please. I was like, please give me one line for this song, and you sent me a lyric for one of the songs. That, and then we talked a little bit about League of Legends a few years ago.
I'm still waiting for my royalty check.
True. Yeah, man.
I get 0.001% credit for the.
All right, I'll send you 3 cents.
Mail it. The amp will cost more than the royalty check.
But yeah, it was great catching up, man. I hope that one of these days we can do another one of these sometime. That'd be sick.
Absolutely.
So, Ryan, again, thank you so much, and talk to you soon, okay?
All right, later, man.
All right, peace.